Marvel. The devastation of natural disasters begins. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 48 Warning. In Gotham City, the bat symbol was projected into the sky again by searchlights. This seems to be a symbol of protection for the people of Gotham City. With its presence, the criminals in Gotham City have also been suppressed a lot. In an abandoned factory, Superman is also standing in it. Batman drove the Batmobile towards Tang Feng. 2 missiles were also launched, but Tang Feng didn't take it seriously. He just grabbed 2 missiles that were flying towards him and threw them towards the Batmobile. The explosion occurred on both sides of the Batmobile, and Batman crashed directly into Superman. Tang Feng also kicked the Batmobile leisurely. The Batmobile also crashed into the wall after rolling on the ground twice. The door slowly opened, and Bruce stood up from the car. Tang Feng slowly said to Bruce, "Next time the bat light comes on, don't leave. Batman is already dead. Bury him. Even if I forgive you." Just as Tang Feng was about to leave, Bruce said, "Tell me." Tang Feng slowly turned his head. "Are you bleeding?" Tang Feng also ignored what Bruce said and flew into the sky. That night, Louise also came to Lex Luthor's laboratory in the center of the metropolis as scheduled. But what surprised Louise was that the laboratory was exceptionally deserted and there was no security personnel at the door. This also made Louise feel very strange. Louise also boldly walked towards it. But at this moment, Louise also felt that something was holding her back. Louise also slowly turned around, and a man in black was also pointing a gun at her. "Miss Louise, right? I need you to come with us. Our boss wants to see you," the man in black said after saying that Louise took the helicopter with him. Soon after, the helicopter also slowly landed on the platform of a building. Louise was also taken out of the helicopter. On this platform, there was already a young man waiting for Louise, and Louise also recognized that this man was Lex Luthor, who asked her to come. Lex Luthor also looked very happy and said to Louise, "Wow, so fresh and charming, and the clothes are casual and elegant." Louise Lois apostrophe vertical bar haha, "Come and see the scenery." Lex Luthor also walked towards Louise, just wanting to hug her, but Louise also let go of his arm in disgust. Lex Luthor also grabbed Louise. "This is a secret. It has a close relationship with building materials. Because building materials are not heavy, there will be a feeling of trembling in the wind." 5 Boom. There was a loud noise from the sky. Tang Feng also suddenly landed in Keon's parking lot, and the tall building also shook a little. Lex Luthor also softly said to Louise, "Look at what I said." "Let go of her," Tang Feng also said to Lex Luthor. Definitely, but Superman, I want to ask you for a favor." Luthor at this time also hid behind Louise. He said to Tang Feng, "Oh, I remind you, don't try to solve me like you did with the African." Chapter 49 Threats. Lex Luthor also took out a stack of photos from his pocket and threw them in front of Tang Feng. Tang Feng was also very puzzled and picked up the photo, which was the photo of Tang Feng's mother being kidnapped. Lex Luthor also lost a mobile phone to Tang Feng. Lex Luthor's subordinates were live streaming Tang Feng with their mobile phones, showing the appearance of his kidnapped mother. Tang Feng at this moment was also very angry, roaring at Lex Luthor, while the hot energy gathered in his eyes was about to burst out. Lex Luthor also calmly said to Tang Feng, "Oh wait, no, I tell you Superman, if you kill me now, your mother Martha will die immediately. I advise you to think about it carefully. Work with me." After hearing what Lex Luthor said, Tang Feng also tried very hard to restrain his inner anger, and the hot energy in his eyes slowly dissipated. One day ago, just when Tang Feng went to Syria to rescue the kidnapped Louise, Tang Feng's mother was watching the news at home, and the news was also playing the news of the explosion at the White House that day. Ajay, the murderer who planted the bomb in the White House, was also caught, but the anchor did not focus on this, but kept criticizing why Superman did not save these people at that time. The pressure from the fishing reel constantly floods Tang Feng, and as Tang Feng's mother, Masha's heart is also very uncomfortable. Instead of getting angry watching the news on TV, Martha also planned to go out to relax. But before Martha went out for a while, a black van was staring at Martha, and that was exactly what Lex Luthor had planned. The mercenaries in Syria at that time also accepted Lex Luthor's order to create such an incident, so that Tang Feng would have no time to care about what happened in the metropolis. Lex Luthor also took advantage of this moment to kidnap Tang Feng's mother, Martha. Lex Luthor also said to Tang Feng, "I saw with my own eyes that your hands are covered in blood donation." Tang Feng also said to Lex Luthor coldly, "What do you mean?" "Tonight they will see, for you, my friend, you have a date tonight, there at the port. The time is auspicious, 2 years in preparation." 35 I pretended that Batman got the kryptonite effortlessly, the little red mark, the big red flame, it was you who killed your family. Lex Luthor also went crazy. Lex Luthor also laughed. "Now, that's right, now, go see him, fight him, never die." Black and Blue, fighting profession. This can be said to be the largest head-on gladiator fight in the world. Gods vs mortals, day vs night, kryptonites vs Gotham bats. Tang Feng was also very angry, and said to Lex Luthor, "Do you think I will fight for you?" "Yes, definitely, I believe you will fight to the death for the lady of your life." Lex Luthor also laughed out loud. Tang Feng gritted his teeth and was filled with anger when he heard Lex Luthor's words. Tang Feng also rushed into the sky with a bang. And a real battle is finally about to begin. Batman and Superman are dueling. Chapter 50. On the coast, an abandoned shipyard, Bruce Wayne has already lit the bat lamp here, waiting for Tang Feng's arrival. At this moment, Bruce also put on a set of armor made of titanium alloy. For this battle, Bruce is also fully prepared. The rain in the sky is also getting heavier and heavier, and Tang Feng also fell in front of Bruce. "Okay, I'm here now." Bruce opened his hand towards Tang Feng, and at this moment Tang Feng has also fully understood Lex Luthor's conspiracy. That is, if he wants the two to kill each other, he can take advantage of the power of the fisherman. And Tang Feng didn't want to let Lex Luthor succeed. Tang Feng also walked to Bruce and said, "Don't be like this, Bruce." But before Tang Feng could take 2 steps, rows of sonic guns were erected on the ground on both sides of Tang Feng. The powerful sound waves also interfered with Tang Feng, making it difficult for Tang Feng to move. Tang Feng at this moment also endured tremendous amounts of pain. With difficulty, he lifted a manhole cover from the ground, split it in half, and threw it towards the 2 sides of the sonic cannon. The interference of the sound waves also disappeared, and Tang Feng continued to say to Bruce, "Bruce, you don't understand. There is no time." 35 Tang Feng also walked in front of Bruce, and Bruce also fiercely said to Tang Feng, "I understand." Tang Feng also stretched out his hand and pushed it on Bruce's body. Tang Feng pushed Bruce from a distance of dozens of meters with just a little force. Bruce also fell to the ground, pressed the button in his hand, and the heavy machine guns on both sides began to suppress Tang Feng. The bullet definitely couldn't have any effect on Tang Feng. Tang Feng also flew into the sky, suspended in the air. His eyes, hot energy also gushed out, destroying the heavy machine guns on both sides. Tang Feng at this moment was also irritated by Bruce's unreasonableness. Tang Feng also passed through the flames and came to Bruce, grabbed Bruce and lifted him up. Tang Feng threw Bruce away, then jumped to catch Bruce and flew towards the roof. Tang Feng threw Bruce onto the bat lamp, and the bat lamp also broke into pieces. Bruce at this moment was also struggling to support his body and wanted to stand up. Tang Feng also said to Bruce, "Stay still, don't move. If I really moved, you would be dead long ago." Ask for flowers. But Bruce didn't pay attention to what Tang Feng said. Bruce also threw a smoke bomb at Tang Feng's feet. Tang Feng also shook his head and passed through the smoke bomb. And Bruce also took this opportunity to stand up, holding a special grenade launcher in his hand, and pulled the trigger at Tang Feng. 0. However, the speed of the grenade launch was too slow for Tang Feng, and Tang Feng directly grabbed the grenade in his hand. But the strange thing is that the grenade did not explode, only a popping sound was heard, and a green smoke emitted by the grenade enveloped Tang Feng. At first, Tang Feng still disapproved of it, thinking it was just a trick used by Bruce. But this green smoke could not dissipate for a long time, and it has been hovering around Tang Feng. Every time Tang Feng inhales roar, he inhales a large amount of green gas, but just when Tang Feng wanted to move, Tang Feng clearly felt that his body had become very weak for a long time. Chapter 51 Suppressing Tang Feng. Tang Feng at this moment also felt that in his body, the original strength was slowly being lost. The roar seemed to be very difficult to absorb, and soon Tang Feng could not bear it. Tang Feng was half kneeling on the ground, and the smoke around him seemed to lock onto the target, constantly lingering around him and unable to disperse. Bruce also slowly walked towards Tang Feng and said, "Inhale." "That's the feeling of fear. You are not brave." 0 and 80. 35 The smoke around Tang Feng finally cleared. Tang Feng also stood up and punched Bruce in front of him. Tang Feng at this moment also used all his strength, but after only hearing the sound of metal collision, Bruce's left hand directly blocked Tang Feng's attack. Tang Feng was also very surprised, and Bruce also said, "Humans are the real brave." Tang Feng was very surprised and threw a few punches at Bruce, but Tang Feng's original speed and strength definitely disappeared at this moment. Bruce hit Tang Feng's face with his head. The intense pain made Tang Feng very unbelievable. Bruce grabbed Tang Feng with one hand and punched Tang Feng in the face with the other, but Tang Feng wanted to fight back, but there was nothing. Bruce also hit Tang Feng's chest hard with his knee, and then threw Tang Feng out and smashed him into the skylight on the roof. The rain also fell on Tang Feng's face, making Tang Feng look very embarrassed. Bruce also roared and jumped up, stepping on Tang Feng's body with both feet. The force also broke through the ceiling and fell into the room. Bruce also kicked the painful Tang Feng with a kick. Then he also jumped in front of Tang Feng and launched another fierce attack on Tang Feng. Bruce grabbed Tang Feng and punched the wall, and his right fist constantly hit Tang Feng's body. With a bang, the wall also collapsed, and Tang Feng also fell to the ground. But at this moment, Tang Feng suddenly felt that there was no pain in his body, and his strength returned to his body little by little. Bruce caught up with him, raised his foot, and kicked towards Tang Feng. But what Bruce didn't expect was that Tang Feng just raised a hand and completely blocked Bruce's attack. Bruce also thought something was wrong, and at this moment Tang Feng's power was restored. Tang Feng grabbed Bruce and threw him forward. Bruce's body also pierced through several walls one after another before finally stopping. Tang Feng also stood up and moved his body, but the feeling of weakness in his body was still very obvious. But Tang Feng didn't think too much, he just rushed towards Bruce. Bruce also got up from the ground and rushed towards Tang Feng as well. Both sides grabbed each other at the same time, but Bruce was still pressing Tang Feng against the wall. Bruce smashed Tang Feng's face with a 4.8 punch, but the impact of each punch on Tang Feng was getting weaker and weaker. The feeling of weakness in Tang Feng's body was also completely eliminated. Tang Feng at this moment also grabbed Bruce's hand and slowly floated up. Bruce also subconsciously wanted to retreat back, but it was obviously too late. Chapter 52 Kryptonian Weapons. Tang Feng also directly rushed away, grabbed Bruce in front of him immediately, and then rushed downstairs pressing down on Bruce. After Tang Feng, who was also on the ground, was shattered, Bruce was also pressed to the bottom. Bruce also tried to get up from the ground, but it was too late. Tang Feng also directly lifted Bruce with both hands and then threw him hard. Bruce was also thrown out, and it was not until Bruce passed a few walls that he finally stopped. It was too late for Bruce to sense the pain in his body, so he quickly took out the grenade launcher and replaced the bullet in it. Tang Feng also slowly crouched down, and then stomped on the ground hard. Tang Feng also rushed in Bruce's direction. At this moment, Bruce finished reloading, and Bruce also saw Tang Feng rushing towards him and hurriedly fired a grenade containing powder made of ground kryptonite towards Tang Feng. Tang Feng also saw the incoming grenade, but at this time Tang Feng was too close to the grenade, and Tang Feng couldn't dodge it in time. The grenade hit Tang Feng and exploded instantly. Green smoke surrounded Tang Feng again, and Tang Feng also fell to the ground. Bruce slowly got up from the ground. At this moment, the armored mask that Bruce was wearing was half damaged. Bruce also smashed a ceramic tile from the side and slowly walked towards Tang Feng. At this moment, Tang Feng was also being tortured by the green smoke. Tang Feng saw Bruce walking towards him and wanted to stand up and resist, but the feeling of weakness in the body also made Tang Feng helpless. Bruce roared and smashed the brick on Tang Feng's back. Tang Feng was also crushed and fainted. Bruce was also panting beside Tang Feng, and soon, Bruce moved again. Bruce wrapped his arms around Tang Feng's neck and carried him on his shoulders with the other. At this moment, Tang Feng was also on Bruce's shoulders, waiting to be judged. Just as he was fixed on the cross, Bruce walked to the center of the building, and Bruce also came to the side of the stairs, looking down, at least a dozen stories high. Bruce also threw Tang Feng directly from above. Tang Feng also crashed to the ground. At this moment, the weak Tang Feng also did not have a body of steel before. Tang Feng was also wrapped in a huge amount of pain and screamed. Bruce also walked down the stairs with a rope. Bruce looked at Tang Feng, who crashed into the ruins of 080, and also retracted the rope and tied it to Tang Feng's leg. Bruce also began to drag Tang Feng, who was lying on the ground. "I think your parents have instructed you that your existence has meaning, said that you came here for a reason, but my parents didn't teach me that. They just died in the gutter for no purpose," Bruce said to himself as he walked. Finally, Bruce's footsteps stopped and he stopped in the large midget of the building. Zizizi, the sound of the rope retracting also sounded, and Bruce also picked up Tang Feng's body. Chapter 53. Bruce threw Tang Feng into the air, and Tang Feng, who was hanging on the rope, was also spinning in circles in the air like a meteor hammer. Bruce also used Tang Feng's body to smash huge amounts of stone pillars, and then handed it over. Tang Feng also lay on the ground and groaned in pain. Bruce threw the rope aside and slowly said to Tang Feng, "I have just been taught that it will only be reasonable if you force the world." All of this is also within Bruce's plan. Bruce took out a spear from his side, and the sharp blade of this spear was forged by Bruce with a lot of hard work and a lot of kryptonite. The green light also lit up in this dark abandoned building, and Bruce walked towards Tang Feng with a spear in his hand. At this moment, outside the building, Lois also arrived on the newspaper helicopter. Before the plane stopped, Louise hurried into the building where Tang Feng was. Bruce walked to Tang Feng's side and one foot also stepped on Tang Feng's chest. Bruce raised his spear and said to Tang Feng, "You are not a god at all, you are not even a human." Bruce also said that the spear leaned against Tang Feng's face. "Will you bleed?" After speaking, Bruce also drew a blood stain on Tang Feng's face. Just as Bruce raised his spear and wanted to stab Tang Feng said with difficulty, "You are letting Masha be killed." After hearing what Tang Feng said, Bruce also heard the movements of his hands. Bruce looked at Tang Feng, who was trampled under his feet, and said, "What do you mean by why did you mention this name? Find him and rescue Masha." Tang Feng said these two sentences with great difficulty. At this moment, Bruce's thoughts also returned to the image of his parents being killed in front of his eyes in his childhood, and Bruce's mother's name is also Martha. Bruce also suddenly shouted at Tang Feng, "Martha, why did you mention this name?" At this moment, Louise also ran towards the two of them, and Louise also shouted, "Tang Feng, how are you? Stop, stop quickly." Louise also ran towards Tang Feng and said to Bruce, "Please stop. Why did you mention this name?" Bruce also roared at Tang Feng. Louise also shouted, '' this is your mother's name." 35 After hearing this, Bruce also threw the Kryptonian spear aside and slowly retreated backwards. With a stagger, Bruce also fell to the ground. Tang Feng also slowly stood up with the help of Louise. Louise also said to Bruce, "It's all a conspiracy by Lex Luthor. He kidnapped Tang Feng's mother and set up a money direct outside to discredit Tang Feng. The purpose is to let you two kill each other and take advantage of the fisherman." 99 Tang Feng is also slowly recovering at this moment, and the feeling of weakness in his body is gradually dissipating, and Bruce, who had calmed down sitting on the side, was also reminiscing and thinking carefully. Suddenly, Bruce also said, "Doomsday. Doomsday?" Tang Feng also said to Bruce very curiously. Chapter 54 The Day of Judgment. Bruce also remembered the so-called Doomsday Plan that he had stolen from Lex Luthor's files, and everything that happened made Bruce think of everything. "That's right, the Doomsday Plan." Bruce also hurriedly stood up and said to Tang Feng, Lex Luthor wants to use the last bit of power of the Kryptonian spaceship to awaken General Zod. 99 Tang Feng also felt that something was wrong. Bruce said to Tang Feng, "Do you still know the location of the Kryptonian reconnaissance plane?" Tang Feng also nodded to Bruce. Bruce also hurriedly said to Tang Feng, "Hurry up and stop Lex Luthor. And I will go back and rescue your mother, Martha." Tang Feng also nodded towards Bruce, and Bruce also walked in front of Tang Feng, and their two hands were also clasped together. On the Kryptonian reconnaissance ship 083, Lex Luthor was also standing next to General Zod's body. At this moment, a small egg formed around General Zod's body, which was transformed and soaked by Kryptonian energy, and General Zod's body was also wrapped in it. But even so, General Zod at this moment showed no signs of being able to wake up at all. Even if he was wrapped in eggs, he still felt lifeless. Lex Luthor also smiled and slowly took out the key to the Krypton spaceship from his pocket. A spherical center console also floated towards Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor also took out a knife and separated his palm. The donated blood dripped from Lex Luthor's hands, dripping into the water already covered in General Zod's egg, and Lex Luthor held the master key in his hand. At this moment, Tang Feng and Bruce are also divided. The bad flight device also slowly landed on the roof of the building where Bruce was. Ajay. Bruce also sat up directly, and Alfred's voice also sounded in the headset. "Master Wayne, what's the matter, Alfred?" Alfu, who was sitting in the control room of the Batcave, also said to Bruce, "Master Wayne, I'm sorry for eavesdropping on your conversation. I have already detected your location through the Russian's mobile phone." 99 Bruce was also very happy and said to Alfred, "Well done," projecting the position on the screen. "Received, Master Wayne. They are now near the port, and I have set this location as their flight destination." Bruce also said, "I don't deserve you, Alfred." Alfred also joked, "Yes, Master Wayne, you don't deserve it." 99 Bruce Wayne also followed the signal to the warehouse in the port. The Russians knew something was wrong when they saw a large number of strange planes flying over. The Russians also hurriedly ordered their subordinates to attack the flying device with all their strength. They must not be allowed to rescue Martha. It is true that they received the money, and the speed of these mercenaries is also very fast. It didn't take long for these people to complete the assembly at the edge of the port. "Let it fall," someone in the crowd shouted, and the firepower of heavy machine guns, rifles, etc. suddenly poured towards the flying device driven by Bruce. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55 Rescue Martha. But Bruce was not at all panicked. He pressed the button above the handle, and a gigantic rotating machine gun appeared under the flying device. The powerful firepower also shot into the middle of this group of people like a carpet. And the firepower on the ground can only be said to be a pediatrician for Bruce now. It didn't take long for Bruce to clean up these trash fish on the ground. Bruce also said to Alfred, "Alfred, let's go next." Alfu was also a little surprised, but quickly replied, "Okay, young Master Wayne." Turn on the unmanned mode. At this time, a foo seat also appeared in front of the control device of the simulated flying device. Turn on the thermal imaging scanning, and there are 24 enemies on the 3rd floor. Then I will put it on the 2nd floor. The flying device also slowly hovered beside the 2nd floor window under Afu's control. At this time, on the 3rd floor, these mercenaries also surrounded Masha in groups, and the Russians were also very uneasy. He ordered his men to go down the stairs to keep watch, so that Batman could not go up. The others were also holding guns, aiming at where Batman might appear at any time. But before the subordinate reached the entrance of the stairs, a hole suddenly appeared on the ground, and several magnetic devices flew out from the hole, and suddenly the adsorbent was on the wall of the subordinates in the elevator. These subordinates were also very stunned. Before they could react, these magnetic devices beeped and then exploded. The other two subordinates also hurriedly started shooting at the hole, but it didn't work at all. Zizizi, A steel rope also shot out and caught the two of them, and Batman jumped off the roof. When the others saw Batman appearing, they also hurriedly aimed and wanted to shoot the hateful Batman, but how could it be so easy? Batman took out a tight rope and shot it through a man's shoulder, then threw it away and slammed it into the ground. With a wave of Batman's arm, several bat darts flew in different directions, and every flying bat dart makes a person lose combat ability. 0 middle dot 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 hash pound middle dot 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 middle dot. Soon, Batman cleaned up these men outside. The mercenary guarding Masha was also very nervous. With a bang, a large hole suddenly appeared in a wall, and Batman also jumped out of the hole and grabbed a person directly. The Russian was also very scared and shouted, "Don't come here, I will kill her." The flamethrower in the Russian's hand was also aimed at Martha next to him. 0. Move again, believe it or not, I will really kill her, you let my subordinates go. Batman also slowly said, I believe it. After speaking, Batman pulled the trigger of the clamp he was holding in his hand, and the bullet also shot out, piercing through the flamethrower's fuel tank. The flames spread in an instant, and Batman rushed to Masha's side immediately, with his own body protecting Masha inside. The flames gradually dissipated, and Bruce also said to Martha, "It's okay now, don't worry, I am your son's friend. It's been a long time." Chapter 56 The Recovery of the Monster. Kryptonian spaceship with perception. And when Tang Feng arrived at the main control room, it was too late. Lex Luthor stood in the main control room. His hands were constantly dripping with blood, and the loss of blood also made Lex Luthor's face pale, but his eyes also revealed endless madness. The eggs soaked in the water also grew larger and larger. Seeing Tang Feng's arrival, Lex Luthor also turned his head and said to Tang Feng, "You're finally here, look at it, your doomsday has arrived." In the water, huge numbers of eggs also moved, and the Zizi electric current sounded. Ouch! A roar came from the egg. The egg in the water also began to crack, and a large number of humanoid monsters also burst out of the egg. Tang Feng was also extremely shocked when he saw this scene, but Lex Luthor laughed more and more crazily. "My God, it's going to disappear now." The monster was also roaring at Lex Luthor and Tang Feng. The monster tore off the surrounding wires and was about to punch Lex Luthor. Tang Feng naturally couldn't sit idly by. Tang Feng also rushed up and grabbed the monster's fist. Tang Feng threw out the monster's fist and punched it with both fists. The monster took 2 steps back, but Tang Feng also knew that this would not cause any harm to it. The monster was also grabbed towards Tang Feng, and Tang Feng was caught in its hand when he couldn't avoid it. The monster abruptly jumped up and flew out of the research base that Lex Luthor set up in the Metropolitan Center with Tang Feng. The two of them also fell into a square. Tang Feng also quickly stood up and attacked the monster again, but the monster's power was too strong and directly knocked Tang Feng out. The helicopter's light also shone on the monster. Inside the Air Force One. Online. General Nick also said on the phone, "Mr. President. What the hell is going on, Calvin?" General Nick also replied, "This is a live broadcast from the Lex Luthor building, located at 0 of the Metropolitan Center. It can be seen that this monster also shot down a helicopter and jumped to the top of the Lex Luthor building. The plane is ready," General Nick said on the phone. The Apache military helicopter also flew towards the Lex Luthor building, and the police car roared over there. Tang Feng's mother, Masha, also stood on the side of the road and waved at the police car. A policeman also came over and said to Martha, "You are injured, ma'am. Are you okay?" Martha is also very tired and said, "I'm fine." "It's okay, you will be fine, it's okay." Martha also nodded towards the police, and the sound of the flying device rang above their heads. Bat 4.8 At this time he also drove the bat flying device towards Lex Luthor's building where the monster was located. At this time, the Apache military helicopter also rushed to the scene, and the missile also blasted towards the strange man and hit him. The flames dissipated, and the monster hit by the missile was unharmed, and it was also standing on the roof and roaring. Chapter 57 The launch of a nuclear bomb. At this moment, on an airplane, All flights are also suspended due to the influence of the monsters. And the TV screen on the plane is also showing the monstrous events happening in Metropolis. The woman in red had just boarded the plane that day, and the TV broadcast, "This thing appeared at the site of a Krypton spaceship a few minutes ago." Fortunately, the monster's destruction has not spread to Metropolis for the time being. It is the main city. What everyone sees now is the image of the Apache military combat helicopter that has just arrived at the scene. The Apache fighter also saw that the missile had no effect on it, and also planned to use heavy machine guns to block its actions and prevent it from destroying for the time being. 09 The bullet hit the monster like a torrential rain. The monster also began to roar in pain and blocked the bullets with its hands. Suddenly, the monsters also huddled together, and the monster's chest, which is also the position of the heart, began to gather that hot energy. The red light on the monster's chest also became more and more intense, and a roar also drove the air current to spread out. The hot energy on the monster's chest also burst open in an instant. The red laser radiates like a spider web, and the surrounding fighter planes and even buildings explode with a bang. On the TV, the picture also suddenly disappeared, and the anchor at the scene also said, "The signal in front was suddenly disconnected unexpectedly." At this time, we don't know what happened at the scene. The woman's expression also became very solemn. Bruce also drove the bat flight towards the scene, and Bruce also saw the explosion. Bruce also said, "What happened there, Alfred?" Alfu in the Batcave is also staring at the screen and it is difficult to speak. Let me tell you something. The airspace of the metropolitan city has temporarily banned all flight activities. Sorry, make sure you do your best. The aviation report on the plane also sounded, and the woman also picked up her luggage and walked out of the plane. The stewardess saw it and shouted, "I'm sorry, Ms. Prince, where are you going?" After the sweep of this energy, the surrounding buildings were also destroyed in an overwhelming situation. Just when the monster wanted to continue destroying, Tang Feng also flew quickly, slammed into the monster's chest, and pushed it into the sky. On the plane, the vice president could also see this devastating explosion, and he also directly said to the phone, "083 I think we should press the red launch button directly, Mr. President." General Nick also shouted angrily, "It's not time yet, you're crazy." Superman also took this monster and flew out of the Earth's atmosphere. On the screen of the Air Force One, the height of the two was getting higher and higher. Soon, the two of them broke through the troposphere and reached the top of the stratosphere. The lieutenant sitting in front of the computer also said, "Sir, they have withdrawn from the sky above this city. It seems that they are planning a duel in space. They are high enough." The vice president also shouted to General Nick. Chapter 58 Energy Shockwave. "Now, the launch will not harm innocent citizens, sir, but there is one exception, Mr. President, that is Superman," General Nick also said on the phone. On the other end of the phone, the president's voice did not come to mind for a long time, and after a while, the president said, "May God bless us all." At this time, Mr. President's meaning was very clear, and General Nick could not calm down for a long time. The soldier also passed through the huge number of protective doors to the control room with the key. Insert the 3 keys at the same time. The button is ready. The red bird is already in place. "Sir, prepare for launch." The president's voice also came from the phone. General Nick tried to stop him, but he could do nothing. 3, 2, 3 soldiers turned the key at the same time, pressed the button, and the nuclear bomb was also ignited and fired. In the stratosphere, Tang Feng also launched the monster into space as if he was shooting a balloon. At this moment, the nuclear bomb also left the troposphere at a very fast speed and completed the rocket booster in the stratosphere. The remaining warheads also flew in the direction of Tang Feng and the monster. And Tang Feng at this moment also saw the nuclear bomb flying towards him. Tang Feng also rushed over and hugged the monster. The nuclear bomb slammed into Tang Feng and the monster, causing a large number of explosions. The originally dark sky has also become brighter, and the night of the metropolis is also engulfed in fire. All the crowd at this moment also looked up at the sky, and Bruce, who was sitting on the bat flight device, also raised his head and saw this scene, and Bruce couldn't help but say, "Oh my God, God tilde." After a while, The light of the fire gradually dimmed, as if a meteorite fell on the sky. A large number of fireballs also fell at high speed, crashing into an uninhabited area, Self-Propulsion Area 1, and crashed on Scrin Island, east of the metropolis. No one lives there. Self-Propulsion Number 2, are there no obvious signs of intrusion? Mr. President was also very curious and said, Self-Propulsion Number 2? Superman, Mr. President, the one on Self-Propulsion Number 2 is Superman. General Nick also said on the phone. General Nick's expression was also very depressed. At this moment, an officer also said to General Nick, Sir, look, it's moving. Around the fireball that fell to the ground, the flames slowly dissipated, and in the center of the flames, a large number of monsters did not die, but a change occurred. It turned out that the monster's epidermis was also torn off by the monster like a snake molting, and more bones proliferated on the monster's body. The energy could no longer be contained in this monster's body, and the entire body of the monster exuded red light. The power was constantly gushing out. Finally, the monster could no longer control the power in the body, and the huge amounts of energy in the body also focused on the monster and shot out in a semicircle around it. The trees around the island were instantly razed to the ground by this energy. Chapter 59 Radiation Power. And at that moment in space, due to the impact of the nuclear bomb radiation explosion, Tang Feng at that time was also seriously injured. Although the explosive force of the nuclear bomb did not hurt Tang Feng's body, Tang Feng's body at that time was also wrinkled due to the influence of nuclear radiation, like a wrinkled mummy, floating in space. In the Air Force One, General Nick also said to the crowd, the shockwave released by this monster is getting stronger and stronger, and every time we hit it, it will absorb our power and become stronger. 39 inches we can't attack anymore. The president also said on the phone, what do you mean, Calvin? I mean, this thing can't kill. Although he didn't want to admit it, the truth was as General Nick said. And Bruce at this time also hurried to this small island. Bruce drove the bat flying device to avoid the monster. The horror of this monster also made Bruce a little worried. The monster also caught the flying device, and laser beams were shot from its eyes. Bruce also hurriedly turned the flying device, Ajay, and then avoided the monster's attack. Master Wayne, can you hear me? Alfred also said on the walkie-talkie, it's from the planet Krypton, and only Kryptonian weapons are useful to this monster. Bruce also said to Alfred. Alfu thought for a moment and said, maybe what you said is correct, but the premise is that you still have a gun in your hand. There is only one round of ammunition left. Bruce looked at the flight's weapon storage and said, spear? Yes, it's a spear. It's a pure product of kryptonite. It's back to Gotham City again. Bruce also said so out loud. Alfred also hurriedly analyzed Master Wayne's hypothesis, and then said, if it can pierce this monster's skin, the spear can kill it. In theory, it should be possible. Bruce also said, I have to lure it to chase me, return to the city, and find a spear to kill it. Just do it. Bruce also turned around, and the heavy Gatling also began to attack this monster. Although this bullet can't do any damage to this monster, it is enough to attract its attention. This monster walked over and charged towards Bruce's flight device under a round of Bruce's attack. Bruce also hurriedly flew towards the city. At this moment, Bruce did not dare to neglect it and simply turned on the maximum power. But even so, this monster is still very close to Bruce. At this moment in space, along with the revolution and rotation of the Earth, the brilliance of the sun gradually shines on Tang Feng. And Tang Feng, who was bathed in the sun, also changed. The wrinkled skin also recovered a little, and even felt plumper. Suddenly, Tang Feng also opened his eyes, and hot energy also flashed in Tang Feng's eyes, and instantly swept through the whole body. Bruce was also about to lead this monster to the edge of the bay, where the spear was, but the monster also began to accumulate energy in its eyes, and the laser shot towards Bruce. Bruce's flying device was also hit by the wing because he couldn't dodge. Chapter 60 Diana. Bruce, who was hit by the wing, couldn't maintain the stability of the plane. There was no way. Bruce could only find a place where there was no one and start the emergency landing. The flying device skimmed the ground and finally stopped beside a church, and that monster followed closely behind, crashing directly into the ground nearby, blasting gravel and gravel. Bruce also opened the cockpit door, and when Bruce saw the monster coming, he also said, "Damn it." This time, Bruce also knew that it was much worse. Energy gathered in the monster's eyes again, and Bruce knew that he couldn't escape. In an instant, the laser burst out from the monster's eyes and shot towards Bruce. But at this moment, a person fell on the sky and blocked Bruce in front of him. This person crossed his hands, and the hot laser shot out at her wrist, but it couldn't cause any harm to her. She stood in front of Bruce like a shield. The monster also stopped firing the laser, and after the dazzling light dissipated, Bruce also raised his head and saw that the person standing in front of him was the woman he met at the dinner party last time. It is also Diana, Prince, who appeared in the information he copied. Or call her Wonder Woman. Diana also roared and leaped towards the monster. The wrist guards on both hands collided with each other, releasing a burst of powerful energy. The energy shockwave also caused the monster to vibrate and retreat a dozen meters behind. Just as Diana was about to attack again, there was a sudden explosion of sonic booms in the sky. Tang Feng also descended from space. Tang Feng's fists also slammed into the monster. Huge amounts of power also caused the Kryptonian monster to fly hundreds of meters and crash into the factory where the fuel was placed. Explosions also occurred one after another in these factories. And Diana turned her head to Bruce and said, "Why did you bring it back to the city? This port has been abandoned because there are weapons that can kill this monster." And at this moment, Lois seemed to have thought of something, and hurriedly ran towards the building just now. 0. For flowers. The building at this time was almost submerged in water due to the explosion. The spear that Bruce threw here just now also sank under the water. Louise was also looking for the location of the spear in the water. Tang Feng also walked up to Bruce and Diana. Tang Feng said to Bruce, "Have you found the spear?" 0. I can't open my body. 33. Bruce also replied, "This thing seems to survive on energy." Diana also ignored the two and said, "This thing comes from another world, my world." Tang Feng also slowly walked to Diana's side, watching the fire that exploded in front of him. Bruce is also filling his howitzer with ammunition mixed with Kryptonian gunpowder. The three of them also stood together, staring at the burning ruins in front of them. A burst of roars also came from the burning flames in front of the three of them. Diana also pulled out the sword from her back and said, "I have killed things from other worlds before." Chapter 61 Confrontation. Tang Feng also looked at Diana in confusion and surprise, then turned to Bruce and said, "Is it yours?" Bruce also said to Tang Feng with a curious look, "I thought it was yours." This monster at this moment is also absorbing the energy generated by the explosion in the explosion fire field. The red laser also enveloped the monster, and the power of the monster at this moment 087 has also become more powerful. Tang Feng and the other three also adopted a fighting stance, ready to meet the monster's attack. The monster roared. Huge amounts of shockwave energy were released from the monster's body again. Bruce also hurriedly hid behind the rock mass. Tang Feng and Diana also crossed their hands to block the impact of the energy. The shockwave energy also spread to the building where Louise was located. The building began to tremble, and Louise did not sit still and fell into the water. The building of the building also collapsed, blocking Louise's escape route. Shockwave passed by, and Diana took out her shield and sword, and rushed towards the monster. Tang Feng also flew up when he saw this. The monster also ran towards the two. The monster lifted the boulder, and Diana blocked the boulder with her shield, and then slashed towards the house with a sword. The monster also avoided Diana's attack, but Tang Feng at this moment also rushed to the front of the monster and struck the monster's body. Diana also struck the monster's calf with her shield. The huge amounts of power also made the monster unable to stand still and fell backwards. When Diana saw the monster falling, she also held the sword in her hand and stabbed it towards the monster. The monster also struggled to stand up, dodging Diana's attack. Tang Feng also flew up, but was hit by the monster. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Diana also slashed the monster's leg with a sword. The monster was also half kneeling on the ground, wounded and injured. and the wound on the calf also overflowed with red energy to the outside. The monster roared and lifted its truck from one side and smashed it towards Diana. Diana also slashed the truck with a sword. Tang Feng also arrived in time and hit the monster in front of Zero. The monster at this moment simply gave up on Diana, grabbed Tang Feng and threw it away. Tang Feng also slid down the ground, leaving a deep ravine. Bruce at this moment also stood up from the ruins and watched the fierce battle between Tang Feng and this monster. Tang Feng was also suspended in the air. The energy in his eyes burst out, and the monster saw hot energy from his eyes. The two lasers also collided together. I don't want to go up and down for a while. The monster's energy also suddenly increased. Tang Feng also retreated steadily, and was finally knocked to the ground by the powerful energy. Tang Feng was also very reluctant, jumped up from the ground at 4.8 and wanted to use the laser to fight this monster, but suddenly Tang Feng also felt that at this moment Louise was also in danger. Immediately, Tang Feng also flew towards the building where Louise was, and Louise at this moment in the water gradually fainted due to lack of oxygen. Tang Feng also flew up and directly threw the stone that was pressed on the water. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Retrieving the Weapon. Tang Feng also said that the rock that was pressing down on the water was just thrown away. At this moment Louise fainted due to lack of oxygen underwater, and Tang Feng also rushed into the water without saying a word and rescued Louise. Tang Feng hugged Louise and gently placed her on the ground, but Louise still didn't wake up. Just when Tang Feng decided to give her an artificial suction of raw air, Louise also coughed, and the water in her lungs spilled out, and Louise gradually regained consciousness. Louise looked at Tang Feng in front of her, and Tang Feng also gently stroked Louise's face. But time was running out, and it was too late for Louise and Tang Feng to say anything. Tang Feng also stood up and jumped into the water. 09, trying to take back the spear made of kryptonite. Louise was also very worried and looked at Tang Feng in the water, and at this moment, the battle continues. Bruce walked out of the ruins. The monster also noticed Bruce, turned around and rushed towards Bruce. Bruce also took out his grappling gun and fired it towards the building on one side. At the moment when the monster was about to attack him, he was also knocked back by the grappling hook gun, avoiding the attack. The monster's eyes also condensed lasers and fired them towards Bruce. Bruce had no time to stop, and immediately moved between the buildings with the grappling hook gun, dodging the monster's attack. However, the speed of the grappling hook was really too slow, and the monster's laser also hit Bruce's shoulder, drawing a blood stain on Bruce's shoulder. Bruce also fell onto the roof of the church. At this moment, the monster was also roaring and charged towards Bruce. Bruce also hurriedly stood up, threw a smoke bomb towards the ground, and then jumped directly into the smoke to avoid the monster's attack. The monster also crashed directly into the church and completely destroyed it. At this time, in Louise's building, Tang Feng also got the spear underwater, but the influence of kryptonite still caused great harm to Tang Feng. Tang Feng also lost consciousness in the water when he received the spear and slowly floated to the surface. Seeing this scene, Louise also felt something was wrong, and immediately dragged Tang Feng ashore. Louise also knew that kryptonite would cause great harm to Tang Feng, turning Tang Feng into an ordinary person. So Louise also picked up the spear, threw it aside, and then hugged Tang Feng. Tang Feng finally breathed a sigh of relief, and in front of Tang Feng, the battle was still fierce, and Diana was also fighting monsters. The monster also threw a punch, hitting Diana dozens of meters away, and Diana's weapon also fell aside. Diana quickly stood up, but the monster had already rushed in front of him. Diana didn't have any extra time to think, so she picked up the sword that fell to the side and cut off the monster's hand. The monster's broken wrist was also wrapped in red energy. Whenever the monster's hand is in hand, there will be huge amounts of electric current overflowing around it, and this time is no exception. Chapter 63 Monsters are becoming more powerful. The energy field gathered around the monster and was then absorbed into the monster's body. The fiery energy in the monster's eyes was constantly expanding. The monster's eyes also shot out huge amounts of lasers, blasting Diana into the air. But the monster did not chase Diana, but stayed on the spot, and the red energy in the body was entangled around the body like an electric current. In the end, it gathered at the wrist where it was cut. The wound on the monster's wrist is also healing at an extremely fast speed, and the new hand also grew out of this red energy little by little. Tang Feng looked at the scene and his eyes drifted to the spear on the ground not far away. Louise also saw what Tang Feng was thinking now. She also stroked Tang Feng's face and said to Tang Feng, "No, Tang Feng, you can't go." Tang Feng also sighed in relief and said to Louise, "This is my world and you are my everything." Tang Feng also gave Louise an ugly smile, and Louise had been crying and begging Tang Feng not to leave, that she couldn't go, but Tang Feng also knew that only he could stop this monster. Tang Feng also let go of Louise and flew towards the spear. Tang Feng also grabbed the spear. It can be seen that when Tang Feng grabbed the spear, Tang Feng's strength instantly weakened. Even worse, "I can't stand my flight at all." But Tang Feng also gritted his teeth and used all his strength to fly towards the monster. Diana also used her own mantra lasso to immobilize the monster. Bruce also took out the grenade launcher and hit the monster with grenades containing ground kryptonite powder one after another. The monsters wrapped in kryptonite powder did indeed weaken a little. The monster also paid for it with pain, and Tang Feng also rushed towards the monster directly. While the monster was weak at this time, Tang Feng also held the spear with both hands and inserted the spear into the monster's body. The green energy also gradually replaced the red energy in the monster's body. The monster roared in pain, and the monster struggled constantly. With one hand, he grabbed the extremely weak Tang Feng and inserted the still growing hand directly into Tang Feng's chest. Under the influence of kryptonite, Tang Feng is no longer a man of steel, and now Tang Feng is even weaker than ordinary people. Tang Feng also felt an enormous amount of pain, but he still firmly grasped the spear. With all his strength, he inserted the spear into the monster's heart. The red and green energies also intertwined and shot out from the monster's body. In the end, the power of this monster completely dissipated, and Tang Feng also fell to the ground, losing his breath of life. Qianzhou, Bruce and Diana also got up from the ground and walked to Tang Feng's side, and Louise hurriedly ran over. Diana also looked at Louise, and Diana's eyes were full of everything. Louise's cheeks also began to tremble, and tears also fell to the ground along her cheeks. Bruce half knelt beside Tang Feng. He slowly lifted Tang Feng up. Chapter 64, Echoes After Death. Bruce also carried Tang Feng and walked slowly towards Diana. Diana also took Tang Feng's body and placed it in front of Louise. When Louise saw that Tang Feng was also kneeling beside Tang Feng, she also cried while holding Tang Feng's body. And Bruce and Diana did not speak, just looked at them lightly. And at this moment, the Metropolitan SWAT also arrived at the scene after confirming that the monster was dead. They also entered the Krypton spaceship cabin as a team. And Lex Luthor also knelt in the central control room, and 087 was full of sluggishness and despair in his eyes. But then he suddenly also laughed, laughing so madly. The 2-year plan finally resulted in Superman's death, and a policeman also handcuffed Lex Luthor and said to Lex Luthor, "Mr. Luthor, congratulations, you have been arrested." 5 In the endless darkness, Tang Feng also slowly opened his eyes, and the darkness surrounding Tang Feng also made Tang Feng feel very depressed. Tang Feng also vaguely remembered the previous battle with that monster. Tang Feng thought of this and wanted to stand up and see what the result was and what happened. But Tang Feng couldn't move at all. Tang Feng just felt like he was shrouded in endless darkness. Tang Feng was also very puzzled. Gradually, a picture began to appear in front of Tang Feng's eyes. Louise helped Tang Feng's mother Martha to a cemetery. At this moment, the etiquette team is burying someone with the highest gun-firing ceremony in the United States. Tang Feng became even more puzzled when he saw his mother and Louise crying so sadly. But no matter what, Tang Feng couldn't move an inch. After a while, the coffin was lowered into the ground and the tombstone was erected on the coffin. Tang Feng could see that the tombstone was written with his name. Tang Feng, Ajay, was also caught in a lot of shock, but with his own memories, Tang Feng also gradually recalled the situation of the war that day. It turns out that he is really dead. Tang Feng is also thinking in his heart, I didn't expect that the reincarnation of my Superman would leave so early. What a pity. Tang Feng is also quietly waiting for his next crossing. Where will he go? But Tang Feng also waited for a full day and is still trapped in this endless darkness. At this moment, Tang Feng is also very puzzled. Wasn't that the case when he traveled before? Tang Feng's body couldn't move, but his eyes could see what was happening in this world. Tang Feng also recalled the past, when he was still a Superman. Superman can answer us some questions, let's write a blog. The two children also said to Tang Feng at the scene. Tang Feng naturally agreed to their request. After many stupid or childish questions, a child also said, the emblem on your chest represents hope? Tang Feng also smiled and nodded. Look at this sign, it's curved, like a river that comes and goes. An acquaintance of mine said, hope is like a car key, it's easy to lose, but as long as you look for it, you can always find it. So, what do you like most about Earth? Chapter 65. In Gotham City, several newspapers where Superman had died were scattered on the ground. On the roof, a robber also just finished robbing and wants to escape. Batman also appeared in front of him. The robber was also very helpless. He stretched out his hand into his arms and shot Batman with a gun. Batman is also walking around the building with his team. He dodges the robber's shot at him. The robber also saw that he couldn't hit Batman at all and wanted to escape. But it's not that easy. Batman also jumped directly from the roof and caught the robber. The grappling gun also caught the robber, and Batman hung him from the eaves. The robber at this time also screamed in horror, "Don't do this, buddy, don't do this, please." Batman is also staring at the microcomputer monitor on his wrist. A red dot is constantly approaching him. At this time, the robber also said to Batman, "Buddy, what do you want?" Batman also raised his head and said, "Fear." They can smell it. The thief hanging on the eaves also felt something flying towards him from below, and the buzzing sound of mosquito wings was getting closer. Batman also pulled the thief back. At the same time, he also rushed forward. A humanoid monster that once appeared in Bruce's fantasy class also flew over. Batman jumped down and caught it, but this humanoid monster seems to have no reason or ability to think, constantly making strange noises and flying into the sky. Bruce also pulled the monster towards the roof. The humanoid monster also fell towards the roof. Bruce and the humanoid monster also fell onto the roof at the same time. The monster also quickly stood up and wanted to continue rushing towards Bruce, but Bruce would fight it head-on, and Bruce simply took out the net gun and directly covered the humanoid monster on the wall. After the humanoid monster was also covered, it roared frantically towards Bruce, but it didn't take long for the monster's body to emit a red light. 0. Spy. Are they aliens? Are aliens going to invade? The thief said in disbelief. Alfred also said, all of this is the same as the previous sightings, and it is certain that these monsters did it. Jayu. Chapter 66. The bomb incident. Help me prepare for the flight north tonight. Bruce also told Alfu, who was sitting in the Batcave, through the walkie-talkie. All right. About time. 35. Alfred is also Bruce's answering machine. Batman also wanted to leave, just as Bruce jumped to the edge of the roof. The robber also suddenly said to Bruce, "It's because they know he is dead, right? Superman, he is 090 dead. Who can we count on in the future?" Batman also glanced at the robber and left. At this moment, Lois is still immersed in the pain of losing Tang Feng. Whenever she wakes up in the morning, she subconsciously touches another pillow. Every day, Lois will come to Superman. The memorial statue has been destroyed before, and Tang Feng's mother is also very sad. Tang Feng's mother, Masha, also decided to leave the mansion, get out of this sad place. And when Tang Feng died, the frequency of various crimes in the metropolis also increased steadily. Without the protection of Superman, everyone starts to do whatever they want. Central Criminal Court. A van also slowly stopped at the door of this court. A man in a black suit also slowly walked towards the door. At this moment, the other people in the car also came down with guns, and the security guard at this place also saw that she also took out a pistol from her waist. "Don't move. Who are you? The police were also very anxious, but before they could at this moment, the man in black also shot and killed the 2 security guards. This group of people carrying bombs also successfully entered the courtroom. Once inside, all the men in black also carried weapons and equipment, and then controlled the scene of regularization. Diana also came to the things above the Statue of Liberty. Diana also saw what was happening downstairs and immediately rushed over. The court door was not closed, and Diana rushed over directly. The men of the man in black also rushed over one after another, and Diana did not panic. The more powerful Diana is, the sooner she will clean up these subordinates. But at this moment, the man in black said to Diana, "This is the last hope of mankind. Only by returning to the Dark Age can we find the protection of God." And at this moment, the alley in front of the man in black was also filled with huge amounts of bombs. And the man in black also said to her, "Don't try to open it, it's too late." Diana also saw that there were only 8 seconds left in the countdown to the bomb, but Diana was not at all disturbed. Diana also rushed to the side of the 4.8 bomb at a super fast speed. One is to pick up the bomb. Diana also jumped directly into the sky. When Diana just jumped through the glass, there was less than a second left before the bomb exploded. Diana also directly threw the bomb into the sky, and at this moment, the man in black was also very angry. Aquaman recruitment. The bomb thrown into the air by Diana also exploded. The huge amount of impact also caused the building to shake a little. Fortunately, the explosion did not affect anyone. The man was also very angry when he saw Diana appearing in front of him. The man in black also raised the cannon and shot at Diana. Diana also raised her arm, and a bullet bounced off Diana's wristband. "How is it possible? Who are you?" The black man Onin at this time also said to Diana in disbelief. Diana also replied very coldly to the man in black, "A man of faith." After speaking, Diana also folded her hands, and the wristbands on her wrists also collided. The powerful shockwave also slammed the man into the wall, causing him to lose consciousness. Above the snow-capped mountains, Bruce is also searching for something among the cliffs. Finally, after Bruce's long journey, he found a village hidden in the mountains. Bruce also came to a house. They were all called by Bruce. "I want to ask everyone to do me a favor. I know a stranger who came to the village from the sea, and the people have nothing to eat in winter. He always brings a lot of fish. He usually comes when the astronomical tide comes, and it was last night." The village chief also said something to Bruce in words that Bruce couldn't understand, and a burly man with a beard beside the village chief also repeated the words to Bruce in English. "There are icebergs in the port, and no ship has arrived for 4 months," he said. Bruce also shook his head and said, "This stranger did not come by ship." At this moment, the burly man's face changed slightly. "There are enemies coming from far away. I am recruiting warriors. I am forming an alliance to defend the motherland. I will give you $25,000 to talk to him. Talk outside." At this time, the burly man also said in dialect to the people around him, "Anyway, this money will be mine sooner or later." The surrounding villagers also laughed out loud after hearing the burly man's words, and Bruce also felt very puzzled. At this moment, Bruce also saw some strange patterns painted on the walls of this room. Bruce also said to the burly man, "Tell me what the 3 boxes painted on this are, and I'll give you $30,000. The burly man was also very displeased by what Bruce said, and said to Bruce, "You should go out." "Are you going to Atlantis?" Blue 90s also looked straight at the man and said. The burly man also grabbed Bruce and pressed him against the wall. Bruce did not resist either, but said to the burly man, "Called Protector of the Sea, or Aquaman, I heard that you can talk to fish." This burly man also put Bruce down and carried him out of the house. As the two walked, the burly man also said to Bruce, "I want to ask first, are you pretending to be a bat or just a bat?" Chapter 68 The Flash. Bruce also said, "I've been in Gotham for 20 years, and this method has been very effective. When the war starts, we will need you." The burly man also said, "It's just that broken place. Don't get too hopeful, Batman." Bruce also curiously asked, "Why? I don't like you coming here to ask questions and disturb my life. Atlantis has already bothered me a lot, and now that you come to me again, I need to be clean. Arthur also said to Bruce, so you hide in this place where birds don't poop and help the fishermen, because you can leave at any time? Arthur Curry also took off his jacket and said, I help them because they are helpless. After that, Arthur also said that the jacket was thrown aside. You have to cooperate with me if you want to protect them. It's just the strongest. Have you heard this phrase? Arthur also took off all the clothes on his upper body. Bruce also said helplessly, this is not a motto, and it has nothing to do with that motto tilde. Arthur also shook his head. Really? But even this doesn't mean I'm wrong. Have you heard of Superman? He died while fighting alongside me. Bruce is also trying to persuade Arthur to help himself, but Arthur at this time also walked to the shore and turned his head to Bruce and said, look, what am I saying? So did Bruce. He had no choice but to ask, what are those 3 boxes? They are old legends that humans are melting the ice caps, destroying ecosystems, and now retribution is coming. But I don't care about rising sea levels. What if the oceans start to boil? Bruce said to Arthur very seriously, dressed up as a bat? You've gone crazy, Bruce Wayne. After that, a huge wave swept over, and Arthur jumped directly into the sea in front of him. Bruce is also very helpless and muttered to himself, it doesn't mean that I am wrong. On Bruce's plane back, Alfred also brought Bruce a cup of coffee and said, Master Wayne, do you mean that you can't find this so-called Aquaman dog? I put a monitor on his jacket, but he took it off. Afu also said to Bruce, vertical bar the box is drawn in Luther's notes. I think it must be some kind of container, although I don't know what's inside, but I can be sure that the contents are worth starting a war for. I found a suitable candidate on the list. Afu also pressed the button on the table, and a screen slowly opened. Alfred also said, Barry Allen from Canterlot. He is elusive, lives in the facade of an abandoned house, often moves suddenly, and likes to play with missing people, but he regularly comes back to visit his father. Bruce also curiously asked, to visit his father in prison? His father murdered his mother, but Barry always said that his father was wronged when he was a child. But Henry Allen was convicted, and he was 9 years old at the time, and no one believed what he said. Bruce also asked, do we have any acquaintances in prison? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 Origin. Fu also nodded to Bruce and said, yes, we can get the address. What's going on at Diana? Bruce said slowly after taking a sip of coffee. Afu also joked, what's wrong? Don't you have her phone number? You can contact her directly. Oh, by the way, do you want me to fly to Paris immediately and bring back your handwritten letter? Would you like to be Bruce's teammate? Answer yes or number. It was also said that Bruce was a little helpless, but he could only pretend to be expressionless and say to Afu, I'm just interested in your abilities. Okay, I know. Can we start now? Bruce also pointed to the screen. Afu also pushed his glasses and said, definitely, but this person's facial recognition seems to be a bit confusing. But there is a partial match. His name is Victor Stone. He is smart, has had a football scholarship, and is. 3. Bruce also put his hands on his chest and said, dear, it's all about ghosts. Afu also nodded and said, I really miss the old days, when the biggest problem, Ajay, was the exploding mechanical penguin. Bruce also smiled and sat opposite Alfred. How simple is this kind of life? I don't know this world anymore. Afu also shook his head, but Bruce's expression was still very determined. I don't need to understand the world, I just need to save it. Tang Feng at this moment will also be able to perceive everything happening outside in the darkness, whether it is Atlantis, the Amazon, or Bruce. Everything seemed to be playing for Tang Feng in the darkness like a movie. Tang Feng is also very distressed. What is going on with him? Tang Feng tried his best to break free from the shackles of this darkness, but still in vain. In front of Tang Feng's tombstone, the gravel that was pressed on Tang Feng's coffin seemed to float slightly at this moment. Central City Prison. Barry Allen is also filling in his name in the visitor window to visit his father, Henry Allen, and a bald uncle behind Barry also said to Barry with a very bad attitude, "Hurry up, you stinky boy." Barry also turned around and looked at the bald man. The bald man also leaned over and said to Barry, "Is there any problem?" Barry's hand at this time is also grabbing and flashing in an instant, but in fact this time may only be a thousandth of a second. Barry also said to the bald man, "No, no, no, I have no problem." After finishing speaking, he signed and entered the prisoner's room, and when the policeman saw the bald man, he was a little confused. At this time, the bald man's face was also painted with patterns by Barry. The policeman also told the bald man, "The doctor's prescription on your face is just to make you look smarter." The bald man also touched his face in confusion, and the prison management also pressed the alarm, fearing that he had contracted a mental illness. After a brief chat with his father, Barry walked out of the prison and returned to his dilapidated residence. Chapter 70 Cyborg. Dr. Stone also left work at the Interstellar Laboratory and returned home. Victor is also standing in front of the window looking at the outside world. Dr. Stone also put down his bag and said to him, "Victor, you are not trapped here. You can have a life of your own, if you continue to run wild at night like this." Victor also said to his father very calmly, "I'm dealing with data. I can access all the data, but I can't draw any conclusions." 9. Dr. Stone also became a little excited. Dr. Stone said to Victor, "It's only temporarily impossible, but if you ask me for help, if we have a redesigned engine." Before Dr. Stone could finish speaking, Victor interrupted him, "Are you doing this to make it easier for others to be like me?" "No, the box must remain hidden, but you can also see how much we have learned from the Kryptonian spacecraft. I think the re-engineering engine can sense your energy. Start it up." And, Dr. Stone said, becoming more and more excited, "So then, does anyone know? Does anyone in the lab know that I'm alive?" Victor also said slowly. At this moment, Dr. Stone also began to hesitate. "I don't think you're ready." "Oh, what's not ready? Let them see a monster." "You're not a monster," Dr. Stone was about to say, but Victor said it directly. "Do you think I'm talking about myself?" Victor also turned around, and half of his face was covered in metal, and his entire body was made of alloy, which was also exposed. "That accident took your mother away, and I really can't do it again. I can't bear to lose my son again." Dr. Stone's voice at this time was also very small. "It can be lost. I now have a language in my brain that I can't speak, not just numbers, but also alien languages. Every morning I wake up and I'll have different changes," Victor said as he walked towards Stone Ph.D. Victor's feet also shot out flames, causing Victor to slowly hang in the air. Stone also clearly showed an expression of great surprise. 0. Flowers. Victor also said to Dr. Stone, "I didn't receive any more last night. Ever since the Kryptonians came to Earth, people have been waiting for the next alien invasion. I have to suspect that I may be part of them." Inside the daily building planet, Tang Feng's mother Martha also came to look for Louise, and Louise also poured a cup of coffee for Tang Feng's mother. 0. And at this time, Tang Feng's mother also sold the property and was running around, and Louise also proposed to help Tang Feng's mother, but was directly rejected, and the two chatted with each other. Everyone was thinking about trying to prevent Tang Feng's death, but no matter what they say, Tang Feng's death has been shrouded in their hearts like a dark cloud. And at this moment, Bruce is also in the Batcave, analyzing the behavior of the alien spies and maintaining his own bat flight device. Diana also walked in, standing next to Bruce, who was repairing the fighter. "I spent millions on the security system here." Jayu. Chapter 71. 3 mother boxes. Bruce also said to Diana. Diana also jokingly said, "This definitely looks quite expensive. What are you messing around with?" Diana asked Bruce. Military transport plane." Bruce also turned around and leaned on the fence to look at Diana. Diana's expression also changed a little. Diana said, "I used to know 090 who would drive this guy." Bruce also shook his head slowly. "It's not enough to be a pilot. I feel the enemy is approaching." "They've come, Bruce." 95. His name is Steppenwolf, the world exterminator. whose only interest is conquest, and whoever he kills with his axe will become a demon, a monster that feeds on fear. 5. Bruce and Diana also walked along the river, and Bruce also said to Diana, "I know, I've encountered one before, and it wasn't very pleasant to get along with. They're all over the place, and they're looking for that box, the mother box," Diana said. "The mother box?" Bruce was also very curious. Diana also nodded and said, "There are 3 mother boxes in total." 99. Bruce also said, "I just took away the mother box you were guarding, and now there are 2 left." Diana also looked at Bruce and said, "You are pretty good." Bruce also shook his head and said, "But I still don't know what's inside. Is it some kind of weapon, or some kind of power?" Diana also said to Bruce, "There is no power in the box, and this box is originally power. The mother box travels between planets and fuses together to form a unified force. This catastrophic energy can not only destroy the world, but also return it to its most primitive shell, just like the place where the Steppenwolf was born. 35 We should have been destroyed long ago, but at the last moment, we burst out the power of unity, the Amazons, Atlantis, human races fighting side by side. There are legendary warriors, and even allies from foreign space. Even the gods worked together and sacrificed their lives to fight the Steppenwolf. It is said that this incident has angered the Steppenwolf. This is the first time he has suffered a losing battle. He swears that our alliances will collapse. Darkness will cover the earth. After the war, the 3 mother boxes were also handed over to the Amazons, Atlanteans, and humans. The other 2 were placed in a tightly guarded secret room, and the human box was also buried in a secret location, so that no race could use its power to conquer the world. After the catastrophe, it was a legendary era of restoring peace. Bruce also stopped and said to Diana, "I think it is difficult for the heroes of the year to gather again." Diana also nodded. Atlantis 4.8 was forced to sink to the bottom of the sea, and the Amazons hid on the island and were unable to leave. Bruce also said, "And I have no hope for the human races. They treat the doomsday clock as a child's alarm clock." "How much time do we have left?" Diana asked Bruce. Bruce also sighed and said, "It's only a few days at most." Chapter 72 I will do it. The last mistake Steppenwolf made was attacking us. He wanted to subdue the earth before destroying us, but this time his purpose was to snatch the mother box, Diana also said to Bruce worriedly. At this moment, Bruce's phone also rang. Barry's location was verified, and Fu also sent the specific coordinates to Bruce's mobile phone. "I received a message from a new teammate, Barry Allen, Center City," Bruce said to Diana. 09 Nah. Diana asked, "What about the other one? Have you found him, Victor Stone?" Bruce also raised his head and said to Diana, "I hope you can find him." Diana also nodded, but said after a sigh, "We are using the lives of strangers to tell stories." 35 Bruce also said helplessly, "I know, but that's how it is." After speaking, the two continued to walk away. And in the forest by the river bank, Victor Stone also knew everything. Barry Allen also returned to his ruined secret base after leaving the prison. Barry pushed open the iron gate that had been cut open. Then the heavy warehouse door opened. Barry broke the switch. The switch was obviously old, and the spark spread the moment the power was turned on. The room also brightened a little, and Barry also found Bruce sitting in the room. "Barry Allen, I'm Bruce Wayne." Bruce was also the first to introduce himself. Barry also said curiously, "Do you think you can explain why a stranger broke into my house, hid in the dark, and sat in my second favorite chair?" Bruce also stood up and slowly walked towards Barry. Bruce took out a screenshot of the video and said to Barry, "The person above you?" Barry also took the screenshot, and after looking at it, he hesitated and he said, This guy looks exactly like me, but he's definitely not me. A very handsome Jewish guy." Bruce also walked to where Barry put his shirt and said, "I know you have a special skill, I don't know what it is." Barry is also starting to gag. "Oh, my special skills include viola, web design, and I can communicate with gorillas in sign language." But Bruce also ignored Barry's nonsense, and instead looked at the shirt in front of him and said, "Silica-based quartz sand, wear resistant and heat resistant." This is what I use for ice dancing. Bruce also continued, "This is the flame retardant material that the Space Shuttle 090 needs to re-enter the atmosphere." Barry also knew that he was exposed, but he still insisted, "I mean, very hot ice dancing." Bruce also turned around, and Barry continued to say to Bruce, "No matter who you're looking for, I'm definitely not the person you're looking for." Before Barry could finish speaking, Bruce instantly turned around, pulled a bat out of his pocket, and threw it in front of Barry. Barry moved when he saw this. Time seemed to freeze. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.